Jackson, Mississippi, and all surrounding areas, you tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. It starts now. I believe we got a big one for you today. My name is Clay Edwards, and this, of course, is the Clay Edwards Show. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I know I did. Friday night, I went out to some friends of mine's house, and we cooked a whole ribeye. We sliced it up into big 2-inch steaks and smoked it and seared it. Man, it was good. So I smoked them at my house because I got the pellet smoker there and it's just easier to do. And one thing I just did not anticipate was putting them in foil and wrapping them and taking them down to downtown Brandon. They overcooked just a little bit. They were probably more hard side of medium instead of medium rare. But since they were reverse seared, they were still super tender and super juicy. And it wasn't the worst way to eat a steak, let me tell you. It was good. No complaints. Next time, if I do that again, logistically, I will not cover them and let the steam trap them. I should have thought about that. I know better than that, too. But when you're in a rush, as life goes. But it was a good time, and I got to hang out with the Shanks brothers, Fred and Sims. And Sims, and I hope I can talk about this. Sims going down to the Capitol Police and going to be one of the top guys down there. So Capitol Police with Bo Lucky and Sim Shanks, they are in good hands. That is going to be some good stuff going on down there. And this is how, no joking here, this is how you save Jackson. You get, more law enforcement. It ain't going to be a bad thing. Not going to be a bad thing. And that area needs it because that's the area. I know nobody likes to hear this, but that's kind of the only area worth really saving is that downtown Fondren, from Fondren to Capitol Street, to Planetarium kind of, that area. I know everybody's neighborhood's worth saving to them. I get that, man. I didn't include my parents' house or my in-laws' house in this conversation, but if you can't save the other, none of these nice neighborhoods are gonna survive. So congratulations to them. I got to hear some great war stories. There was another fellow there. I won't mention his name, but he's a former Green Beret. And man, he tells some wild stories. I just got to hear some crazy stories from former law enforcement and former Green Berets. It was just fun, just hearing old war stories. I hated to leave. I really did. I was like, I'm just going to sit here until they get through talking. Finally, I was like, I got to go home. But so that was Friday night after we got off the show here. And then Saturday, man, I went out to the Chris Stapleton concert out at the Brandon Amphitheater. And I'm going to tell you what, it's sometimes it's easy to forget just how many big hits an artist like that has. And it was just one after another, man. He's got a song called Fire Away, and that's what he did all night. He just fired away hit after hit after hit out of a cannon. It was phenomenal. And, I try to, when I go to stuff like that, I try to suspend disbelief about musicians and their political stuff and just try to enjoy a good show. If they don't talk about it, I ain't going to talk about it. Am I entertained? Entertain me. That's all I want. And Chris Stapleton did a phenomenal job, and Elle King had opened up. She did a great job too. It's the first time I got a chance to see her live, and she does like a 2 a.m. pops around the corner next day regret, but she was phenomenal live. She was absolutely phenomenal live. All right, the Mac Hike of Flowood Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram phone line is 601-879-0002. If you guys want to chime in, would love to hear from you. Did you get out to the concert this weekend? Anything going on this weekend you want to talk about? Also, the Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. And I did get a bunch of texts over the weekend through there that I have not had a chance to reply to yet. So if you text the text line over the weekend, I will get back to you later today at some point. But we'll stay current as far as today's show goes, and I will get your text read live on the air. And if you do the Twitter thing, you can reach me on Twitter. We'll read them live too. It's at SaveJXN. Or just type in my name, Clay Edwards, but the handle is at Save Jackson. And you'll see my ugly mug there wearing my Ultra MAGA shirt. And that would be the correct profile. There are some fake ones floating around. You've made it when the local angry Democrats are setting up fake profiles to honor you. So shout out to the haters this morning. We love you too. All right. So yesterday, I get a video sent to me by a buddy of mine, and he was first on the scene, first non-law enforcement on the scene of what appeared at the time to be a shootout on I-55 in Jackson. So this is what this show does best, right? We talk about Jackson crimes. That's what we're going to do for the first little bit of the show. It appeared to be a shootout on 55 right there at Northside, the southbound on-ramp at Northside Drive on the 55, basically right in front of the old Hooters. I couldn't believe WLBT last night said directly in front of a business that's still open. You could have said the old Hooters, a closed down business, and not poop stained a good business that's still open. Why would you do that? I always try to avoid, if I can talk about where crime happens, I always try to avoid mentioning a currently open business that it happens in front of. If I can find any other landmark, that's what I try to do. Never poop stain a good local business that had nothing to do with that. That's disgusting to me. Do not do that. Jackson businesses have enough problems dealing with Jacksonians. They don't need the media pooping on them. But I digress. We're sitting there. He sends me the video. We break the news. You know, Save Jackson was the first media outlet to do it. We beat everybody by a couple hours. So shout out to my source, my cameraman there that sent me that. Much appreciated. Well, come to find out, you know, as the news kind of crept out, one person got killed. One got taken to the hospital. They're still in critical condition. We'll see if they die or not. And Jackson is officially sitting at 73 reported homicides, which that number seems low. We're about 10 off of last year's pace. And I just can't imagine that we've only had 2 murders in the last month. But what do I know? But the story is, now I don't know why, obviously, the crazy Jackson, because Jackson is why, but the shooting actually happened at the gas station right there at Northside. And look, those gas stations change names so often. I don't know if it was the Exxon or a Shell or what, but you know, the gas station right there that backs up behind on the same lot as the old Hooters. The back of it faces Hooters. So whatever that gas station is, not the one across the street that's got the good barbecue, but the other one. The shooting happened there. And rewind real quick. I know I said never disparage a local business if you can help it, but y'all know how I feel about Jackson gas stations. And this is another shooting at a Jackson gas station. Guys, I'm going to tell y'all something. There's going to be some people that say I'm a racist or whatever else. But at the clip that these type homicides are happening with involving young black men in Jackson, Mississippi, I'm very weary about young black men in Jackson, Mississippi beside me at red lights. And say what you want, say what you will. That is an honest, true to God statement. And I mean, I just thought about it this morning coming up 49 by Presidential Hills. I was just like, you just absolutely, I mean, especially when you see a car that looks like it's been involved in a shootout parked beside you, duct tape on the windows, and this, that, and the other. It's like, man, I know in the bottom of my heart that nobody's just going to randomly hang out the window and start shooting my car. But you begin to have second thoughts. I mean, they talk about a lot of these people in these urban communities have PTSD, and I don't argue that. But I'm beginning to believe that it is giving me some type of PTSD every time I drive through Jackson, just hoping I get through here alive. I mean, you just absolutely never know what's going to pop off. And there's some good people in Jackson. I mean, look, man, I called an Uber Sunday morning to go pick up my car. And the guy was from Jackson and was dropping somebody off at the airport, so it was just an easy pickup for him. Cheap, too. I only paid like $11. It's crazy. I didn't go far either, but neither here nor there. But we were just talking, and he was talking about there was a piece of property he was trying to buy, an old abandoned building out off Livingston Road or something. And he was like, you know how much they try to charge me for that thing? I was like, what's it got to be? Can't be worth no more than $50,000, $60,000. He's like, they try to charge me $500,000. Apparently it's an old McDonald's or something over off that way. Maybe he said Hanging Moss, but it was either Hanging Moss or Livingston. I can't remember, but it's kind of the same area. And anyway, I was just blown away. They don't want business. That's what it sounded like to me. They would rather an abandoned building there than business. But you can't tell somebody what to sell their private property for. But I told them, I said, look, at the end of the day, they did you a favor. You don't want to open a business in Jackson. You ain't even got clean water and infrastructure. You're better off just driving this Uber. Trust me. So I know I went down a rabbit hole there, but yeah. So another shooting on 55. Is it anywhere safe? There was another shooting at a gas station that led to the car stopping on 55. And what I thought was funny from the WLBT article when they got their story up was the police said that, let's see here. I want to quote it exactly right because I thought it was kind of funny a little bit. Let's see. Police took a purse. Oh yeah, there was a purse on the back of the car too. But anyway, the police said they oh yeah, here it is. So he tells us the driver was not shot, but he was not able to say why the driver stopped at the entrance ramp on I-55 South at Frontage Road. Like, why did he leave the gas station and just stop there? Well, in the picture I saw, the car had a flat tire. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that when just spraying the car like that, a bullet probably pierced the engine or something mechanical. It was mechanical failure as to why the car stopped, and a flat tire on the front. So you ain't going far on the interstate with a flat tire on the front of the car. But that's not, okay, that's obviously very important. Somebody died and somebody got shot. And, no telling how many other innocent people could have been involved. And maybe these people were innocent too. I don't want to just assume guilt, but typically this is some kind of inner gang related nonsense when these types of shootings happen. But after that, my source there, my camera guy that sends me this type of content when he's in Jackson, he running through Jackson all the time and runs up on this kind of stuff all the time because it always happens in Jackson. It ain't like he goes out of his way to do it. JPD approaches him. Keep in mind, he's 50 yards away. 50 yards away on private property there in pretty much the old Hooters parking lot, or, in that little area there, maybe in front of the old Bennigan's. But they come over there to him and they tell him to quit filming or they're going to arrest him and confiscate his phone as evidence. My friends, that is illegal. And we got the video. I'm going to play it. And I want y'all's opinions on it. Look, nobody's a bigger supporter of law enforcement than me. But this isn't fair. This is not right, and it's illegal. You're listening to The Clay Edwards Show. We'll discuss on the other side of this break on 103.9 WYAB. We do here at The Clay Edwards Show, and it's kind of what I'm doing this morning, We're not always going to fit the mold. I mean, sometimes we're going to call BS out when we see it. Not sometimes, all the time. And it may not fit my narrative or my beliefs all the time. But like I say, I would love to think all the cops out there are out doing 100% right and doing everybody right. But every now and then, it don't go down like that. So look, here's what we got here. This is the video. I'm going to play real quick of Jackson police threatening to arrest our cameraman and confiscate his phone for filming just after the aftermath of a crime scene. People do this all the time. He was on private property about 50 yards away, and this is his interaction, and the officers do say their names at the end of it here, so take a listen. It gets better.
Sir, this is constitutionally protected activity. I'm on private property. I have the right to film.
We're going to see if you got any evidence that's going to be pertaining to this.
Everybody that's driving by can see the same thing.
No, they're not recorded, though. They're not.
What if they have a dash camera on their car? I can't do about
what if, ands, and maybes. We don't
so you're ordering me to leave.
I'm asking you to leave off the people's premises.
You're telling me I can't film.
I'm telling you to leave off private property. Go ahead and leave off these people's premises.
Or what's going to happen?
We're going to confiscate your phone because we
you'll
believe
be arrested for
if you got
a police officer.
If you got evidence on this phone that's going to be in reference to what we got, it makes it easy. That's all it is.
Okay. So with those threats, you're telling me I have to leave.
Sir.
It certainly sounds
that way.
It's not
a threat. I'm simply saying if you're recording a crime scene, we're going to look at it from all angles.
Okay.
And we're going to confiscate your phone to make sure that we got the angle that you got.
Okay.
That's all it is.
I got you. Well, that sounds like a big inconvenience, so I'm going to leave, but I don't think that that's legal or that you have the authority. I'm going to leave.
We're not worried
but I'm
about
just
the
stating that.
legality of it all.
You're not worried about the legality of it.
No.
You're not worried about the legality of it. Are you saying are you saying it's illegal to record it?
What if this is
or are
your
you
family?
just saying it's disrespectful?
It's disrespectful.
Okay.
Sir,
Okay.
Hey, and may I put in? You're
disrespectful.
committing a crime by disobeying a police officer as we speak.
No,
It's not a lawful order, sir.
That is a lawful order.
I'm gonna leave.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave. But
that's all. It's just out of disrespect, sir.
Oh.
It's just
well, no,
out
he's
of
saying it's illegal. You're just saying it's a
I'm
respect
just saying,
issue.
I'm
It's all on a different
So
story.
are you arguing? Saying it's not illegal?
I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying
Okay.
out of respect for the family. Let's
All
not
right.
do this.
Okay.
Let's not do this.
Okay. And what's your name?
Detective Whitney.
Okay. And what's your name?
Officer Bradshaw.
All right, Officer Bradshaw. Thank you.
All right, so y'all heard it there. And you can watch that video on the Save Jackson YouTube channel. Just go type in Save Jackson. It is there. And it is also available on the Save Jackson Instagram. And I did pull up the ruling on Jackson Jambalaya concerning this. The Fifth Circuit Court back in 2017, on February 24, 2017, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last week, I'm quoting here from the article from 2017, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last week the citizens have the right to videotape police officers while they conduct arrest or perform other actions. The court ruled in Turner v. Driver that the right is protected by the First Amendment. Technology leapfrogged ahead of the courts as the courts have been playing catch-up to the newfound ability of citizens to videotape the police with smartphones and then immediately post the video to social media. The Fifth Circuit finally got the case and that allowed us to crack the issue. So I'm not going to dig into all the nuts and bolts of that ruling, but just for the sake of this conversation, the Fifth Circuit Court did rule that you have the constitutional right to record police officers. And I'm not one of these First Amendment audit people. And my buddy wasn't happy with the way he came across sounding like one of those, because that's not really who he is at all. But that's, people have their opinions, neither here nor there. And I don't have a problem with the First Amendment audit people, but again, I'm a First Amendment guy. But I'm not one of these people running around just looking for people to dance with that I think are messing with my First Amendment. That's just not what I do. I'll just keep talking. They're not going to shut me up. But with that said, the ruling on the Fifth Circuit Court said the guy that actually was on that case, Turner, I believe, was filming the police station, not policemen and women doing their jobs. But I don't know. It's an interesting question. What do y'all think? Do you fair or foul? Keep in mind, the guy that was filming the video or the aftermath, it was just the police, setting up the crime scene tape and, the evidence and this, that, and the other. There was no body in the car. It had already been hauled off by the coroner and the other person by the ambulance. So there was no body in the car. So is it fair or is it foul? Were the police right? Now, the one cop who says it's morally wrong or whatnot, that's his opinion, and he's entitled to his opinion. You can go back and forth on that. The other cop, however, Bradshaw, saying that he was going to be arrested for disobeying the officer. Well, but the officer wasn't making a lawful request. You can't. That'd be like, I'm going to use a stupid analogy here. That'd be like the cop telling me to do 100 push-ups, me not doing them and being arrested because I disobeyed an officer. It's not a lawful request. You hear all the time from police officers, they can't do anything on private property unless you're breaking the law or the person that owns the property requests that you be removed. Neither one of those were happening here, so they couldn't even tell them to leave the private property. So anyway, that rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. Still don't. Feel the same way about it this morning as I did yesterday. And I hate that in a city like Jackson, Mississippi, and where law enforcement, you would think, would want as many people on their side as anywhere. This is just my opinion here. I'm not law enforcement, obviously. But you would think that they wouldn't be messing with folks doing petty nonsense such as that. All right. On the Mac Hike of Flowwood phone line, we've got Derek. Good morning, Derek.
My friend, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good this morning.
Well, even though I was out of town for the weekend, I did see that with the the officers and the guy videoing. Well, and I did put on there, I said, that's protected by the First Amendment, So,
yeah, and my whole thing is whether you agree with it or not, as far as is it morally right to be filming a murder scene, but there's not a body or anything like that. So I typically try to err on the side of being respectful to families, but
right.
But I didn't see that as an issue with this. The car was clearly a rental car. It had a Hyundai Elantra with an out-of-state tag involved in a shootout in Jackson. That's a rental car.
It was, and I didn't see anything he was doing that was just disrespectful, to be honest with you. He was just, filming everything he could see from the public view, which is a constitutionally protected activity, and it's been in court numerous times.
WLBT was there on scene, too.
Yeah. So, I have to tell my fellow police officers something. See, Clay, you and I have talked about this. Standards ain't what they used to be. When I was coming up through the ranks, right, you had to have at least so many hours of mandatory training every year. And the Board of Minimum Standards did that because one of the things is there was a lot of favoritism going on in police officers. And I'm not talking about no white and black stuff. I'm just talking about there were some people based off of, for whatever reason, got to get more training than other people. And Minimum Standards came back and said, no, every officer has to have so much mandatory training a year. And that minimized, who got to go to training and who didn't. But then they still try to find a way to circumvent that by sending people to, crappy training they'll never use just to satisfy, the minimum standards requirement. Now it seems like I'm not sure what they're doing now.
No.
But I tell my fellow brethren, help yourself to a book. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there. A lot of people don't like the First Amendment, the First Amendment audit guys. But me personally, I watch them because I learn. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you can learn. You can watch and learn, especially if you're in a line of work where people are trying to audit you per se. I would love watching that kind of stuff. And I was told about another really good YouTube channel that I'm going to check out today called Audit the Audit. And it's guys that go in and they break down the people who are doing the First Amendment audit videos and see where the police were right, where the person was right. And it's supposed to be really interesting. So I'm going to go watch some of that today.
Yeah, and I watched that. He gives them a rating based off the elementary school grade, whether he gives them a grade A or A minus or B minus and stuff like that. But he's very fair in his assessment. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys, now, the ones that just go out there just want to antagonize police, by, throwing out insults and epithets, you're not advancing any struggle by being emotional. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. I agree 100%. Like I said, I'm not out there. Don't go out there just to antagonize somebody. But in a real world situation like this, where you're minding your own business on private property and you're filming something that's 50 yards away, I don't have a problem with that. And he didn't approach the cops. The cops came over. He was in his car, mind you. I mean, he wasn't even standing out, but he was, at the window filming. So,
right.
I don't know. I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. And I imagine once the cops probably saw the video, they probably regret it too. If I had to guess. Yeah.
Now that one guy that came through that roadblock, I'm sorry, we can't call him that anymore. A checkpoint, and he was talking, "Am I being detained? Am I being detained?" I just hate the officer couldn't articulate exactly what was going on, because no, you're not being detained, but this is a safety checkpoint.
You're talking about the white guy that just drove through and said if he had been black, they'd have shot him or something?
Yeah, I can't remember. He was just being all emotional. He said, that's what you do. You articulate your rights to these people. I'm like, well, first of all, there was a bunch of gray areas in that. First of all, the mayor had them doing those checkpoints to deter crime. That is unconstitutional. That's what they got Madison County for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're doing it in a crime specifically based on driver safety, like DUI, it's totally legal. But that's all he had to say. DUI safety checkpoint. Well, I might be detained where you are right now until I'm satisfied with my safety check. And then I would have just ejected him out of the car. But he made them look like some chumps. because they couldn't articulate what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it would not hurt to have a powwow before you set up like that and kind of learning about. We did a sales meeting every morning when I was in the car business, and a lot of times we would role play and practice overcoming objections in live time. Just throw out an objection and Clay, it's your turn. How do you overcome this objection? Stuff of that nature. Might not be a bad idea for police to do something similar. Before they go set up a roadblock.
We used to do that. That's called morning briefing, shift briefing. We did that. It's called morning briefing. We did it in Harrison County all the time.
Yeah.
We do that. Not roll call, morning briefing. You get there and you talk about specific issues going on in specific areas, and you assign accordingly. Now, I'm not sure. Now, I'm not going to, cast stones because I don't know what they do. But what you're talking about is called morning briefing or shift briefing.
Well, look, I know this. If that same scenario had happened in Madison or Rankin County, any of the police or sheriff's departments in either one of those places, we would have never saw that video. We would have never saw that video. That guy would have been him and his phone would have been confiscated. So
just like you ain't heard no more about Rankin SO allegedly beating that guy to death either. Which I don't believe they did, but you ain't heard no more about it, though, have you?
No.
Yeah.
No. I remember that deal. I mean, vaguely anyway, but yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens. But again, it goes back to do people have respect for law enforcement? And clearly in Jackson, there's a total loss of respect for.
Okay, before you go,
yeah.
I know I don't want to waste too much time, but before you go, you and I have talked about this a lot, and I'm going to say it right here, and it's controversial. First of all, when you hear people of color, particularly black people, talk about they're racially profiled, cultural bias, systemic racism, things like that, that's all excuses for the fact that the parent, usually in most cases, didn't teach them to be competitive. So when you're not being taught to be competitive and you wasn't taught proper decorum, everything else looks like it's unnormal to you. But you expect your toxic behavior to be normal. And that's what the real issue is within inner cities. The problem is cultural, nothing else. It's not race, it's culture. I've met a lot of Asian people who have no proper decorum down on the coast. You know what I mean? It's all in what culture you were brought up in your household. I'm not talking about ethnic group culture. I'm talking about your family culture. And that's something that laws cannot regulate.
Yeah, I mean, I hate when I get into the culture conversation because it sounds like I'm just taking a crap on black culture, and that's not it. I'm taking a crap on Democrat death culture.
Well, but that in and of itself, Clay, I can't necessarily blame you or any other so-called white-owned media for a cultural image. I blame the culture for it. And see, the urban black community has been allowed to speak for the entire black community, and that's something you can't blame nobody else for. You blame the leadership for. I'm so sick and tired, right? And when I'm out and about in the city, you want to lump me into this hood culture, and that's not my culture. And I had to tell somebody one day, and I was as polite as I can be. I said, "Excuse me, I didn't grow up in poverty like you. I grew up with a mother and father who worked very hard." And we went on a lot of trips, RV trips, boat trips, camping trips, skiing, been out in the country. I mean, don't shoehorn me into a culture that you've allowed to speak for the black community. Why do you think Tyler Perry is so popular? Because Tyler Perry showed the American people and the world that part of black America, which I hate to use that word as well. I don't like being called African American either. That part of the culture you don't see because of media cultural image that's been allowed to be shown, which is the urban hip-hop culture. That's only a sliver of an entire community. It's not even like 5%. But that 5% has been able to speak for the total 95% of the so-called black American community.
Well, if you, Derek, I got to go. I appreciate it, brother. But, if you never ridden through rural Mississippi, according to the national media, you would not know there were any black farmers. But,
exactly.
I mean, you would think they just did not exist. That was some kind of fairy tale. But there's plenty of black farmers. There's so much more black culture outside of the Democrat death culture in these urban cities. Derek, I appreciate it, brother. Have a great day.
Uh-huh.
All right, we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back on 103.9 WYAB. Going to be brought to you by Mack Hike Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Flowood. You can shop them online at mackhikecdjrf.com. And you may maybe just driving down the road and you're like, how do I spell Mack Hike? It's M-A-C, Mac, and then Hike is H-A-I-K. Just not a very common name, so thought I would maybe help you guys out there. So just mackhikecdjrf.com. Great team over there. 3 or 4 of my buddies are sales managers there. I've worked with these guys for years, been friends with some of them for up to 20 years. They're just good, solid dudes, from Corey McDonald to Abe Morris to Brendan to Parker and Hunter is the other manager there. Great service department, great sales department. You can't go wrong. Right there at Mack Hike in Flowood, right there at Airport Road on Lakeland Drive. All right. We got a call. Speaking of Mack Hike, we've got a call on the Mack Hike of Flowood phone line. Hey, caller, thanks for holding. You're on there.
Hey, this is Jason Clay. Let me turn my radio down. Listen, I just want to say how much I appreciate people like Derek, Sylvia, all these people that call in, and it's very thought-provoking. And I appreciate, you know, a lot like Jameson says, you know, the collaborators that call into this show. And I just want to give a shout-out to them and say, hey, man, I appreciate y'all taking the time to call into this show and put a perspective out there that you may not have had before and you think. But I do appreciate that, you know, much like, you know, you, Kim, Jameson, Mike, everybody that I get to listen to every day. It means something. So I just want to give a shout out to these people that call in, collaborate, speak their minds, speak their thoughts, and it gives us a chance to sit there. And so I enjoy your show. I enjoy everything that WYAB does, and I listen to it all day long. And I appreciate y'all. So that's really all I had to say.
Well, Jason, before you go, I just want to say, you know, you've been calling in more yourself, and you're becoming one of those very valued collaborators, or you already are, should I say? And you know, so I appreciate you, and look, you keep doing what you're doing. You're as big of a part of this fight as anybody else, man. And you're out there on the front lines, you know, talking to folks every day and kind of putting your money where your mouth is. So you support these sponsors. I know this firsthand. And we appreciate you. We couldn't do what we do without you.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you something. And one of your one of the guys that advertise on this show, I work down there with him every day. And I'm not going to name by name. I don't want to give away where I am and what I do. But I tell him how much I appreciate sponsoring y'all. And we laugh about it every day. And, you know, and just have a good time. So, anyway, listen, man, Clay, keep going, keep rolling. And, Sylvia, if you're out there, love you. So, bye-bye.
Be good, brother. Bye. Yeah, you know, I tell you one of the things that makes this show, and just station in general, because these folks call into other shows than just this one, but I'll speak for my show. When you get black conservatives, and I love all my callers. I even love the ones that argue with me. But when you get black conservatives like Lacey, like Sylvia, like Derek, my buddy Fred, that he doesn't call in, but he listens every day. Shout out to baby Fred. When you get folks engaged like that, and there's plenty more, we'll get a random call here and there from other black conservatives. It breaks up this stereotype that every black person thinks like the Jackson Democrat. And I love that because it reminds me to keep myself in check and not get out of hand with my language and how I kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater sometimes. So it's a great reminder of balance for me, if that makes sense. And this show wouldn't be anything. I may not still, if I didn't have great callers like them, I don't know that I'd have made it through my first year. They helped me out so much. I'll be eternally grateful for somebody like Derek or Sylvia, they're a little more long-winded, and that's a good thing. And Lacey always calls in. She's got those hard-hitting points, and she gets to the point, and she says all she got to say, and she says bye, but she's awesome too. But if it hadn't been for Sylvia and Derek being able to carry a whole segment sometimes while I gathered my thoughts, I don't know that I would have been able to keep doing this. So they are very important to me and to this show. All right, we're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back on 103.9 WYAB. Breaking rules when necessary. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to get that on a shirt here soon. Look, this last segment of the first hour, it's a 2-hour show today. I'm in here solo. The phone lines are wide open. 601-879-0002 is the Mac Hike of Flowood phone line. Would love to hear from you guys. This segment's going to be brought to you by Lakeland Glass and Tint, where quality matters. If you need your home, car, or automobile, I guess your home, car, and automobile are two of the same things, aren't they? If you need your home, car, or business windows tinted, Lakeland Glass and Tint. Hey, look, man, it's more than just keeping the sun out. It's keeping the heat out. And their ceramic tint and all that stuff, it will get you hooked up. And, man, I'm going to tell you what, it's been hot in these cars here lately. But, hey, also, if you need your windshield replaced, they got you. Go to the original location right there on Lakeland Drive. The tent shop has moved over there to Flowood Drive. It's kind of catty-cornered right there across from River Oaks Hospital. You'll see the big building with LGT on the sign. That's Lakeland Glass and Tint. They will get you hooked up. All right, man. Looks like we will end the hour here with a phone call on the Mac Hike of Flowood phone line. Hey, caller, you're on there. You got about a minute.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Look, what size shirt you wear?
2X.
2X. I'm going to get my wife to make you that shirt.
I appreciate it, brother.
This is Mike. I know you go to Hickory Ridge, but so I can get it to you.
All right. Sounds good. Just let me know, man. I appreciate it. You can reach out to me on anywhere and let me know.
All right. I got your number, bro.
All right, brother. Thank you. That's good stuff there, man. That's good. Solid. I tell you what, I will wear that thing every day. I'm just looking out the window here. If y'all are driving, be safe out there. It is an absolute monsoon here in Florida, looking out on 49. I don't know what the rest of the area is looking like, but I don't have any intentions to get on these roads at least before 9:30. Hopefully the system will have passed by then. But hey, Lakeland Glass and Tint, let me finish that thought real quick. Check them out online, lakelandglassandtint.com, or give them a call today at 601-946-1000. Jason and the team over there will get you hooked up. Okay, so on the other side of the break, on the top of the hour, phone lines, and the Guns and Gear text line is wide open too, 769-241-1944. Miss Sylvia texts in after Jason's call and says she had the big head now. And I told her how awesome she was. She's allowed to have the big head. When you bring it like that on a daily basis, you're allowed to have a big head. But so I want to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. Somehow the abortion folks are mad at Kyle Rittenhouse for some reason, and they're saying some really stupid things on Twitter. I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the Emmett Till case not reopening, and it looks like the Mayflower is for sale downtown. We'll hit all that on the other side of the break here. You're listening to The Clay Edwards Show on 103.9 WYAB. Hey, welcome back in to hour number 2 of The Clay Edwards Show. I am live here in the Cotton Exchange Plaza. I almost reverted back to one of our old studio sponsors there. Hey, speaking of which, the studio sponsorship is available if you are the decision maker for your business or the business you work for. When it comes to marketing, we've got some great marketing opportunities available here at WYAB. The sponsorship of the studio is one of them. Would love to get you in, but it's got to be somebody that's interested in a long-term commitment. Don't want to be changing the studio name too often. But let us work for you. We have a very dedicated and loyal listening audience that gets out and supports our local businesses. So get in touch with us, clay@wyab.com, and I can get you all the information you would like on that. Real quick, this segment is going to be brought to you by Guns and Gear. That's right. The home of No Limit Ammo, located right out there at 1716 Highway 51 North in Madison, right next to Little Willie's there at Yandell Road. You know that strip mall right there. If you're out that way, you know what I'm talking about. You can check them out online, gunsandgearms.com. Home of No Limit Ammo. They got gunsmithing. Of course, they have guns. Go follow them on Facebook, man. They got their deal of the day, and it's always something great. Always some cool-looking guns. Some of those mean assault AR-looking guns. They got them. If you're going to be driving through Jackson anytime soon, you might need one or two. I was riding through the other day. When I left the studio Friday, there was a wreck on I-20 East. And I was like, man, I'd rather just get off and ride, take my chances riding through Jackson than saying I'm parked on the interstate. And I did a video of me riding around downtown and just showing people how downtown looks if you ain't been down there in a while. Rode down by the fairgrounds or redoing the National Guard Armory and turning it into like a police headquarters, security outpost kind of thing. And I was going to actually, I got invited to go down there and check that thing out, and I need to take the invitation up. I love old buildings. Anyway, I was riding through downtown, and I happened to have one of my big guns with me. I moved it out of the back seat to the front seat, my CZ Scorpion. It looks kind of like a Uzi/AR. I don't know. If you know what they are, you know what they are. And I had my pistol. Because I was thinking, in reality, as cool as the big guns are and as effective as they can be when needed, getting it when and getting it turned around and all that when you actually need it in an emergency situation, probably not the most practical. But I felt safer. I felt safer knowing it was there. Oh man, but it's sad that you gotta think like that. And I know I'm not the only person that thinks like that when riding through Jacktown. All right, man. We've got Josh on the Mac Hike of Flowwood phone line. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, good morning. Hey, on that case, because I had just departed south of there going home from that dog show, the obedience dog show. And did they ever find the driver of that car? I found that weird. It said the passenger got shot, the guy in the back seat or something
got killed.
Yeah, and the driver was not found, from what I understood.
No, so the way I read it, and maybe I interpreted it wrong. The driver did not get shot. So they know he didn't get shot, so I'm assuming he was on the scene when they pulled up.
Okay.
Now what they're doing with him, or if he left the scene, or if he cooperated or anything, I'm not sure.
It just seems odd that everybody in your car gets shot but the guy driving. But with that being said, in my law enforcement experience in the Navy, on that whole people filming and stuff, we would be concerned anytime somebody was filming because of terrorist activity, or they like to film to see what the police response or what your security response is going to be to an incident to be better at what they do. So in our case, we probably would have gone if we would have seen him filming, because even NCIS will tell you want to catch the ones filming before they send the ones in that are too good not to be caught filming, because that's when you get more incidents, or again, you would get some kind of bombing, or, they're really perfecting their craft. They usually send the rookies in first and get their training that way. So we probably would have interviewed him and been like, well, let me just get your information real quick. And, did you see anything? Did you get any good film, or maybe when it began or a little bit after? And, I don't know on the pushback from somebody on all their rights and all that. You never really like to get in that argument. And then again, the police officer was somewhat in the wrong for, I'm going to confiscate your phone and, we're going to do bad things to you and all that. Nobody likes a threat. So I'm just calling with my 2 cents on that.
It feels like it's an unnecessary escalation of a conversation to a point where it's like you almost feel like, well, I don't want to get emasculated here. For just sitting here minding my own business. I'm a man, I'm going to say something. And it creates the opportunity to have a situation that's not a situation. Does that make sense?
It does. And, there is a book and course out there on verbal judo, which talks about how you address and speak to people. And usually when you start threatening and raising your voice, they're going to shut off any, sensory they have to wanting to listen and comply with whatever you're putting out to them, and they raise it up to elevate, either fight or flight. So,
well, look, when I was in the nightclub business, we always talked to our security guards and guys like Trig and Chops, and then we're always so good at this. on top of being big old boys that could handle their business, they were good in the sense that they knew how to talk to people. And Scott Anderson, that calls into the show a lot, Scott was really good at this too. He could walk up and talk a situation down. We always talked about being a firefighter, not a fire starter. And you can go in there and you can put the fire out before a situation got physical, and it helped prevent it from getting physical. And we went a long way with that. I learned I was not always that guy. And as I've gotten older, I revert back to the lessons I learned watching those guys and the people I've had the pleasure of being surrounded by.
Right. Well, I enjoy listening to your show as always. You got interesting topics, and I'll go back to listen to your show. I just figured I'd call in and put a little perspective on that, perhaps.
Hey, I appreciate it, Josh. Thank you, brother. Let's grab lunch one day this week.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Sounds good, brother. Bye.
All right.
All right, man. Josh, another great caller. I didn't mention when I was thanking all the callers there, but he's always on point, always. But yeah, so let's transition, and not that kind, lefties. We're just going to turn the page here. I want to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse, or I don't even know how to word this properly, but the abortion nut jobs, the pro baby killers, are so mad about them not being able to kill babies in certain states now that they've somehow figured out a way to rope Kyle Rittenhouse into their anger. So much so that he was one of the top trends on Twitter last night, and probably this morning too. I'm going to read you a tweet, and this was just the dumbest one I saw, but there were plenty. This is just the one I picked. All right, it says, let's see if I understand this. A pregnant person can't cross state lines to get an abortion because they're killing a human life. But people like Kyle Rittenhouse can cross state lines, murder people. Murder? He wouldn't murder anybody. Murder people and be acquitted of any wrongdoing. Tell me where I lied. I'll wait. End of tweet. Yeah, I can't help but think of that Dave Chappelle. No, it was Cat Williams. It's like, murder? He wouldn't murder anybody. Anyway, this is the dumbest tweet I've read in a long time. Kyle Rittenhouse did not cross state lines. He was already there. Let's get that part. Just go back and I'm not going to revisit the trial. Kyle Rittenhouse was found innocent by a jury of his peers. And that was a witch hunt, and we all know that. But they are somehow, and also you can, in fact, cross state lines and get an abortion if you live in a bordering state that allows abortion. It's just, man, these people have lost their ever-loving minds. All right, we got a call here on the Matt Kike of Flowwood phone line. Hey, caller, you're on there.
Hey, yeah, this is Johnny calling.
Hey, Johnny.
Listening to your show this morning as I was driving my grandson to work. And I'd like to be put on that list of, and I'm like that, I don't know who that caller was, but he put my thoughts into words exactly, talking about the so-called black culture.
Derek, yes.
Okay, Derek. I mean, but I would like to be added to that list of, and I'm like him. I don't like to be called black, African American, Afro American. I don't like those terms because I've never known an ethnic group to go through as many names as we have, and I'm not going to go into them because I get personal when I start calling them and telling them what the media and the government has allowed us to be called. And as a matter of fact, we've come full circle now. Now we're called the people of color. We're back to being called colored. So I'm tired of it.
I agree. Great phone call, by the way, because you bring up a solid point about a group of people who have who the name has been changed as to what you're called. Can we just all be Americans?
Just call me an American, and if you can't, don't think I'm going to just call me Johnny. What's your name then? Just Johnny. Just Johnny. Because I don't allow what you think of me to put me in a box, if you will. I'm just not going there anymore. At one time, I would get defensive, but no, now that I know who I am, I'm not going to allow you to put me in that box anymore. Just call me Johnny. If you can't call me Johnny, you're an American. Just call me Johnny, and I'll be happy. I'd be happy.
Well, on the flip side of that argument, Johnny, I feel the same way. What I'm not allowing myself to get mad about anymore is when I see somebody I don't know call somebody else of my ilk a racial slur. I'm like, you know what? They're not talking to me. I don't care what.
They are not
I don't care
talking
what.
to me.
I don't care what happened to them. They are not talking to me.
I totally agree. Now, I will admit that initially, until I become, I guess, for lack of a better term, hardened to the fact that, and I'm going to say this now, when you call me a nigga, and I don't know why people are so afraid to use the word nigga, because when they say the N-word, we know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about that slur. So when if someone called me, and it may hurt my flesh for a minute, but I'm going to think, and I'm not going to allow you to pull me down into the mocking mud because you call me that slur, because that's not who I am. I'm Johnny, an American. But put me on that list of black conservatives, not necessarily a black Republican, and definitely not a black Democrat, definitely not a black progressive, but a black conservative that's tired of how the media and even the government, to some extent, portrays us as a group, ethnic group, black group, Negro group.
Man, look, I grew up in South Jackson in the 80s and 90s, and even 2000s for that matter, but it's particularly in the 80s and 90s. I grew up around a lot of middle-class black families. And so I grew up around men just like yourself. And so my vision of my relationship with black people is completely different than what you see now that has happened in Jackson. And it's just extremely disappointing. But I know there's folks out there like you, and they seem to gravitate towards this radio show and this radio station, and I couldn't be happier because it reminds me to like I said, to stay balanced and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. And I don't want to say to not be racist. I'm not trying to be racist, but I understand how I can word things sometimes, and it comes across like if you don't know the context of the show, you're like, man, that may sound racist. But getting to talk to people like yourself and to Derek and to these other people, like Miss Sylvia, it's a great reminder to stay balanced. I appreciate it.
Look, let me ask you one other question now. That video, what was the name of that video? I don't know what was going on, but I listened to it. But what's the name of it? How can I go out there and look at it?
It's on my YouTube channel. Just go type in Save JXN.
Save Jackson.
Yeah, okay. Just Save JXN, and it should be it's the most recent video I posted. It should be right there. It'll say Jackson police threatened to arrest cameraman.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Johnny. Have a blessed one.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Great phone call. A new caller there, too, to the best of my knowledge. So we appreciate Johnny listening and calling in and giving his opinion on things, and I couldn't agree with him more. Great phone call. All right, you're listening to The Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back on 103.9 WYAB. Breaking rules when necessary. All right, welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. This segment is going to be brought to you by Kimberly Harrelson over at Next Home Realty. Are you listing, selling, or buying a home? It's easier than you may think. In fact, it's just a click away when you work with Kimberly Harrelson at Next Home Realty. If you're looking to make a move to or from the Jackson area, then Kimberly Harrelson is the agent you'll want. She knows how to negotiate the best price, buying or selling. Kimberly Harrelson will help you make the right decision with your home. Check out Kimberly's listings. They're online now at KimberlySalesMS.com. That is KIMBERLEE salesms.com. All right, man, I just got a great text on the Guns and Gear text line between the break, and I'm going to get back to this Kyle Rittenhouse stuff because I feel like making fun of the baby killers, so I'm going to get back to that. But on the Guns and Gear text line, says it's hard being a black conservative when you've been raised on a victim mentality. I've been breaking away from that ideology. Most white people I've come in contact with are decent people. I love my family to death, just not right. They're just not right at times. And I text back. I said, I can't imagine fighting against an entire culture and your family at the same time. That's got to be tough. It really does. So I have let's just be honest. In Mississippi, it's easy to be a white conservative. I mean, we're the majority. I mean, we fight amongst ourselves sometimes. It's hard to be in the resistance wing of the white conservative. But at the end of the day, it's, outside of being in Jackson, it's pretty easy to be a white conservative in Mississippi. To be a black conservative in Mississippi has got to be the complete polar opposite. You're getting stereotyped by people that don't know you, and then you're getting Uncle Tom to death by the people that you look the most like. And that's why I have a level of respect for black conservatives, and frankly, conservatives of any non-white nationality, however you want to say that. I hate talking about race, but it's an important conversation to have for context. Because it's not easy, because the expectation is that if you're black or brown, that you're a Democrat. And it's not just the expectation from white folks. It's the expectation from the entire Democrat plantation that you be one of them. And the second you're not, they have to try to berate you and discount your worth and everything. I find it very interesting how that works. I mean, when somebody escapes the plantation, I mean, they are like a bunch of slave hunters coming back after you like savage dogs. It is, they talk about, the Democrats love to talk about lynching. I mean, that's what they basically do, is a digital lynching of anybody that has the audacity to be black and conservative. When you guys decide to speak out, boy, they hate it. I mean, look what they're doing to Herschel Walker over there in Georgia right now. I mean, I don't care how many kids Herschel Walker got. Does he take care of them? Does he pay for them if nothing else? All right. I mean, he was a rich athlete. You know, he lived his life. He lived a good life. I ain't mad at him. And my kids, you know, is he going to vote the way we need him to vote? That's all I care about. I don't care about your personal lives. I don't care what you do in your bedrooms. None of that matters to me. I've kind of on this Herschel Walker thing. I find it quite ironic that Democrats have anything to say about somebody having a lot of kids or having kids that the media didn't know about. Most of them got kids they don't know about. Period. Don't pay for anyway. All right. Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. If you want to text into the show, the call line. And let me tell you, man, you better bring your best stuff today, man. The calls have been A1 today. The Mac Hike of Flowwood phone line is 601-879-0002. I mean, we've had some of our best calls ever today. I mean, absolutely. They've been on fire. So be mindful. And somebody offered to make me a free shirt too. So it may be the best call ever. I'm just saying. Outside of bringing me food, that may be the best call ever. But look, back to this Kyle Rittenhouse abortion thing. These people have lost their minds. They really have. They are somehow so mad that they have to cross state lines to kill babies that they're mad that Kyle Rittenhouse got to do it. It doesn't make any sense. I probably shouldn't even be going down this because it's just a dumb tweet. But it just shows these people get to vote. People who make tweets like that, their vote counts as much as yours. And it might count twice as much depending on what state they live in and if they vote Democrat. Maybe 4 times as much. You know, it's absolute insanity. But look, well, speaking of Twitter, let's do our It's Trending segment. And I want to get to the Emmett Till stuff too. But trending on Twitter right now, the Uvalde shooting stuff came out, the report, and it's bad. They're saying systemic failures, and you know if they use the word systemic, they mean business. I mean, they mean business when they use the word systemic. I'm gonna play this little 2-minute clip here, and this is kind of from the press conference there. If you missed this over the weekend, check this out. Starting it now.
Of law enforcement. There's really 2 categories to think about when we talk about this. There is an early decision to treat this as an active shooter versus a barricaded subject situation. If you know, and the training and standards we set for officers is if you know there's active shooting, active killing going on, or somebody is dying, the standard is you have to continue to do something to stop that killing or stop that dying. That day, several officers in the hallway or in that building knew or should have known there was dying in that classroom. And they should have done more, acted with urgency, tried the door handles, tried to go in through the windows, tried to distract him, tried to do something to address the situation. In fairness, there were many officers at that scene who were either denied access to the building, were told misinformation, some were even told false information. Some were told the police chief of the Consolidated Independent School District was actually inside the room actively negotiating with a suitor, such that they did not know what was happening. They did not have the opportunity to do that. But that's not where the analysis stops. Everyone who came on the scene talked about this being chaotic. The training suggests that that chaos should not happen. Inside the school, there should be a tactical commander, someone who's taking lead on dealing with the actual in the hallway. But there should also be an overall commander, somebody who's an overall command, flowing the information, making sure everybody knows what is going on. The fact that there was no overall commander outside the building, where there should have been one, should have been known by many. At a minimum, there was multiple opportunities, depending on the relative training and experience of law enforcement officers, to at least ask more questions or offer their guidance to try to remedy the chaotic situation and make sure there was effective overall command. There was a lack of effective overall command that day.
All right, that's the end of that video there. And it's a sad deal, man. And they killed those kids. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Their incompetence killed those kids. And it's sad. It's disgusting. And the video that came out of them in the hallway towards the end of last week was just disheartening, to say the least. And by the way, let me credit that footage. That was from CBS News. And they've also got some body cam footage they just posted 14 minutes ago on the CBS News Twitter account. I'm just going to read this here to you. I mean, they're getting kids out of a window, but it says new body cam footage from the Uvalde school shooting shows police pulling young children through windows shortly after noon, around the same time that more than a dozen officers were inside the school and a student called 911 from a separate classroom. Guys, this is terrible. I don't know any other way around it. Prayers for those people. That's I don't know what else to say. It's disgusting. But hey, let's turn the page a little bit though. All the arguing about why do you need guns? Why do you need guns? Well, you're going to have bad people are going to get whatever they need to kill people with. So it doesn't matter what you take away. But while we've all got guns, every now and then you need a good guy with one. And the definition of a good Samaritan is discussed after Greenwood Police Department Chief Jim Ilson used the term to describe the citizen who shot and killed the shooter in Greenwood. It says, this was yesterday. It says, breaking, 3 people are dead after a man opened fire in an Indianapolis mall, and the shooter was killed by a good Samaritan, the police said. So now people are mad that the good guy with a gun saved people's lives and killed the bad guy. And Democrats are mad. I don't even know if these are Democrats. Lefties, insane, American-hating terrorists. That sounds like a good description of them. They're mad that he's being called a good Samaritan. Let me just ask you a question. Real talk here. Regardless of what side of the political aisle you're on. If you're in the mall and somebody is there shooting people and you feel like your life is in danger and you do not have a firearm with you, the guy beside you does, or girl beside you does, and they eliminate that threat, is that a good Samaritan? Do you consider that person a good Samaritan? I'm just curious. Hey, caller, stay on hold. We got to take a break. I'll get you as soon as we get on the other side of the break, and we'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Clay Edwards Show. We are live here on 103.9 WYAB. We've got a caller that stayed on hold with us through the break. I'm going to get to them in 1 second on the Mac Hike of Flowwood phone line. But this segment is going to be brought to you by Watkins Construction and Roofing, A roof repair can cause you a lot of stress. Choosing the right roofing company to repair your roof is very important. Most contractors will try to convince you that replacement is the only way to go, and that, my friends, is not the Watkins way. And after that storm that just came through here, you may want to give them a call and get you a complimentary roof assessment this morning. So, again, give them a call. They believe in an honest assessment. That doesn't necessarily mean replacement. In most cases, all you need is a repair. So give them a call today for your complimentary roof assessment at 601-966-8233, or check them out online at watkinsconstructioninc.com. And I noticed the other day they are the official roofing partner of the Mississippi Braves, and we are the official radio station of the Mississippi Braves. We air all their games here throughout the year. So pretty cool stuff there. All right, man, let's get to the phone. Hey, caller, you're on there.
Good morning, Clay. It's Jason. How are you today, brother?
Hey, brother. How you doing? Thanks for staying on hold for me.
Oh, not a problem, man. Got to pay the bills. I'd like to make two comments. Number one, with Derek and Mr. Johnny calling earlier, I'd like to take the stigma that comes with being Caucasian, male, conservative. I'd like to take my assumed racist tag away, because I don't associate with that either. Because it's just as easy for, someone that is that's a black American to get thrown into whatever category you'd like to throw it in. It's the same thing with you and I, that we get thrown into a category, just like everybody else. I don't fit that category.
Oh, yeah, no, you bring up a great point. And when I was saying it's easy to be a white conservative here locally, I meant because I'm surrounded by a lot of white conservatives also. So it's easy to get in where you fit in. But nationally, and even when I come into Jackson, I'm probably the most hated white man in Jackson, Mississippi. I feel rather confident about that, because there's this false assumption of racism. Because if you identify the problem in somebody else's community, you have to be a racist. You're not allowed to identify the problems in other people's communities. And it was my community too, by the way. It's, but apparently black folks, black Democrats in Jackson think that they have the copyright on the struggle. So
right, and that struggle does not discriminate. Race, gender, sexuality, political party, it doesn't discriminate at all. So so you, like I said, have just as much right to say that as well. And number two, talking about the good guys having weapons and being able to be the first one to be proactive. I am a firm believer of that. I used to be the person that would open carry. I wanted my weapon there and wanted it to be known that it was there, but it made you the first target. But I've shared this story with a couple of other shows. I was in the line at Walmart before they went crazy and told you couldn't open carry there, and I had my wife and my two children with me. And my little girl looked at me and said, "Daddy, they're talking about you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I turned around, and it was a young lady and her child. And her child was pointing at my weapon. And she's like, "I don't know why you think you have to be a bully." And I kind of looked around. I said, "Ma'am, are you talking to me?" And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know why you have to be a bully." I'm like, "Ma'am, I am not trying to be a bully. I'm trying to make sure that other people can't bully me." I said, if somebody walks through that door right now with ill intent for you and your child, my wife and my children, I'm going to defend you and your child like you're my family. She looked at me and she said, "I've never had anyone explain it to me like that." I said, "Hey, would you like to go shoot sometime?" And she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Absolutely I am." She is now a proud concealed carry permit holder.
That's good stuff right there, brother. And that goes back to having a respectful conversation with somebody. I was talking about somebody, about like the police escalating situations. Derek, not Derek. Josh mentioned verbal judo, and using your words to bring a situation down and being able to explain stuff to somebody. And that's what you did, man. You explained it to somebody who was being adversarial or rude anyway. They had already made their mind up what the gun on the side meant. That's good stuff there, man. People need to hear that kind of stuff.
Clay, here's something else that I believe on her part, as having talked to her dozens of times since then. That is what she didn't know something for herself. That's only what she had been told over and over and over and over again. And until somebody came to her and told her quite the contrary, she had no other reason to believe it. I mean, if you're told from a very, very young age that the sky is purple and everybody you talk to tells you that, you're going to believe it until somebody shows you different.
Yeah, I was just in here thinking through this as you're talking, and I wonder, and I don't know if the lady was white, black, blue, or green, but I wonder if people that grow up in these high crime areas like Jackson, where if everybody with a gun has the potential of being a bad guy with a gun, and somebody who's been killed by somebody else and all this stuff on a daily basis. I mean, it's got to cause PTSD. But I wonder if in their mind, is there something that's triggered where they think that everybody that has a gun is automatically a bad guy with a gun? I don't mean this from a 2A standpoint, just as much as I mean it from a moral issue, if that makes sense. Is there something just in their brain that says if he has a gun, he's a bad guy? Because all I've ever seen is bad guys with gun. I've never understood the good guy with a gun theory. I'm just,
Clay, as you said that, I'm driving my car with goosebumps because that is the exact conversation that I had with that young black single mother. Everybody with a gun is a bad guy. That young lady had experienced some trauma, family trauma, due to a weapon. And she's like, because of that, I have never even touched a weapon. I'm like, it's just like having a fork. It's just like having a hammer. It's not going to do anything a fork's not going to feed you until you pick it up and put the food on it. A hammer's not going to drive a nail until you swing it. I said, and what was really, really awesome about the whole deal is whenever I asked her, would she like to go to the range and shoot? And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, absolutely I am. So, sometimes all it takes is, and, I could have taken the low road, I guess, and I could have, I'm going to protect myself and you don't matter and what you're saying is, but no, because that gets neither one of us anywhere.
No, because I'm sitting here thinking in my head, and if I'm being 100% honest, I probably would have taken the low road. It just hip knee-jerk reaction would have been, you'll be glad I got this gun if something pops off. You'll thank me later. I just said something to that extent. So you did the right thing.
I think in a different time, different place, if I hadn't had my wife and my children with me and she hadn't had her child with her and in that sort of deal, yeah, I could have seen myself as well saying that, Clay. But, trying to, like you said, trying to create that instant relationship at that moment seemed way more important than saying, you'll be happy I have this if something bad happens.
Absolutely. Jason, I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
You too. Yeah, look, I'm as pro 2A as it gets, but I do think it's an interesting conversation to have with people who aren't. I mean, if you can actually get them to have a conversation, not just shout you down and all this, that, and the other, just have a conversation. Why do you feel like you do? Is it because of what you see hoodlums in Jackson doing? And, because rarely does it ever feel like a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun in Jackson. It's just two bad guys with guns shooting each other. That goes back to the Hinds County criminal system, justice system. Most good guys with guns are scared to death of having to use it because they know that this racist system is going to come after you. If you're black and you're a good guy with a gun, they're going to get you because you killed a black person. If you're white and you're a good guy with a gun, they're going to get you because you killed a black person. They're coming after you. You're not allowed to be a good guy with a gun anymore if Democrats are in charge. And that's sad. All right, look, we're going to take our last break of the day. You're listening to The Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back to Land the Plane on 103.9 WYAB. All right, welcome back into The Clay Edwards Show as we get ready to land the plane for the day. Man, you guys get out and support all these sponsors for us, man. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. They make this train go. Hey, look, I was going to get to the Emmett Till stuff today. We'll save that for in the morning because it deserves more than 2 minutes. I want to give that time to breathe because I really want you guys' opinion on it, so I don't want to close the show with it. But as life goes, I guess I should have expected anything less than it not to be reopened, but I hate that. Anyhow, I saw where the Mayflower was for sale. Kingfish broke that on his website, Jackson Jambalaya. You can go find that there. I think the title of the topic that you click on is "Oh No." So, and then I saw where some of the local angry Democrats were like, "Let it go. We don't need no." I'm not gonna say who this time because I don't want to give them any attention. But they said, "Good. We don't need no more white-owned businesses down there." And then I don't even want to get into it, but just stupidity. There may be white racists, but there's definitely black ones too. And they're just allowed to be racist wide out in the open. Just stupidity. Absolute stupidity. So we may get into that more tomorrow. I may change my mind on saying who it was and give them the glory they want because absolute stupidity. Hey, also, kind of in closing, did y'all see, I got about a minute left here. I want to make this count. Did y'all see where a guy, let me click on the story here. This is the greatest headline ever. Where did my thing go here? All right, yeah. Oklahoma man, 53, strangled and drowned fishing partner after claiming the man summoned Bigfoot to kill him. You can just go Google that and read that story. That's the best headline ever. All right, man. Mike Madison is up next. Check out ClayEdwardsShow.com for the podcast or your major podcasting platforms. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow at 7 a.m. as the Clay Edwards Show discusses all that is going on in and around the city of Jackson.
This concludes our broadcast day.
Right here on 103.9 WYAB.